Hello, humanity. Humanity in every modern nation has been taking of practicality treatments in relationship to identity of the ground, experts, types of sciences abridged, victims, perfect world forsaken. People did what they had to and were told to do, only allowed to do. How to do it as fact treatment nature, needing to pretend integrity per other forced causes that no one realized. So they also had the value takes on reality, on nature, on the identity of value progression that nature is, abridged, incomplete. And so scientific process would have revealed this. But scientific process with the identity of the ground locations, it's valued abridged in other contexts, where and how all contexts have our quality of fact treatment nature. So Connecticut courts, like other nations at the same time, because they're the ones that kept this the outcome, since before our births, intercampuses of each age and nature and stature, not just in Connecticut, in every not just in every modern nation, individually grouped and together, all identity of the ground positions, identities of jobs, titles, people, A through Z, were put into a trap that knew everyone would have to blame the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts of natures, on other things other than themselves, and then defend that, pretend not to realize that, pretend to be against that, and misprision, which I'm not a lawyer. They recorded, confessed, and demonstrated each branch of government, all private, all the sciences, are victims that are that have to justify themselves abridged rightly, but blaming it on the wrong things, others themselves, wrongly and simultaneously. So we have weapons progressions with modern nations, and since they're semi-ancient times, no one's been able to defend formal sciences defenses of themselves. Hello, Miss Renee. This is about how we save the world from like weapons progressions. Because this is where we are, human fact treatment nature, in an identity ground positions that were forced on our founders, fact treatment nature, slavery, and torture. Who could debate other could only do so by using the contrast to everyone that was already locked into entrenched breaching method roles as a value/value progression. See, we are not a stagnant positive, and we are just automatically temporary positive that is automatically positive onto itself because one identity of value progression will only stay positive onto itself. And Leith of Hadith is a scientific phenomenon for space nature transfer. And nature is about this identity of value progression, its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that as five bonded identities of sequence nature, as that which is three bonded identities of one volume that has three volumes subnatures that are bonded also in order that are inseparable from each other. And where that is not true is where and how it is an exception nature. So we are value nature inside values nature as a trinity. as in before as this identities of volume as for as in identity as forever nature. Temporary more forever nature is making more of itself through temporary slash lasting value slash value progression. We're a quality of diffusion humanity. So the origins of humanity, the origins of existence, came from the relate how the one identity of forever nature. We're not supposed to agree on the name of, and simultaneously we need to for the same reasons. This identity of volume is the way its identity of relationship to itself, which is self-generating. This identity of volume only increases. This identity of volumes, identity of relationship to itself. All identity of volumes are in demonstration to it at the same time, individually grouped and demonstrate. And so we have the gases individually grouped and together, bonded, as the wind, as the rest of as the atmosphere, bonded. Where the gases came, obviously, most logically, most probably came before, demonstrably came before the matter was bonded. What generated that was already bonded, inherent, active, and progressive in that sequence, and not in that sequence as a simultaneous nature. So it's three sequence natures at once, three identities of sequence nature as values nature in demonstration of it, its identity. Each nature has an identity that has a positive or negative relationship to itself. See, now human modern nations were put to value nature systems, markets positions, tactically ulterior, not only tactically ulterior from, but also on from denatured identities of soils, identity of the ground, relationships to itself, and so us to ourselves. Human relations are recorded effectively having been used remotely through all positions of sophistication as the phenomenon of all locations, areas, and states, inclusion against their ourselves, criminally foreign influence, and forcing leaders to entertain pseudo positive, because everyone's trained to talk as roles with criminal seriousness that never had the right to be legalized. And where that is debatable, it's not debatable that they valued it having been criminally foreign influenced already in relationship to databases since before computers. Now, say when they stick this in further, that simultaneously transfers their needs to value roles with what came before to all locations against each position of the human fact treatment nature from semi-ancient times since before modern religion's messengers. Thank God for them, because they help preserve and do damage control from what is still not preserved, not brought back to the zenith of perfection, where and how the perfect world's identity of volume only increases. We could stay systems other. That's why we're going to space. Russia, they just reported on CNN, has a supersonic, like 20 times faster than sound. This they took nations individually grouped and together to extortion, to roles with our self extortion, self value. Our founders never won on many fronts in the American Revolution. They never lost because either, but they lost to other nations, but they lost to what is overt criminal enterprises, other nations, and our own, individually grouped and together, every single opinion nature of all locations, areas, states, further database of stewards, all natures of campuses and each age of it, vertically and horizontally and consciously. Now, the lie progressions are horizontal, for example, the needs to lie in relationship to as people needed to pretend to be against that, misprision. Each branch of government individually grouped together manifest each location, area, and state, each science stewards manifest as this identity of volume called criminal serious nature, that which they were made victim predator roles, recorded how kept needing to hide the same finite, our branches of government, how kept needing to hide the same finite, active, progressive lies, and identity theft, frauds, and racketeering roles, and wire crime method roles, illusions, no, mail crime acts roles, illusions, no, roles. So we have, and this is maintained because then they maintain remote uses of each identity of each nation this way. Criminally foreign influence, the pretending other, breaching screen, breaching tool. So and then they have others. So we have peaceful. We have means to peacefully, not just peaceful. This peaceful becomes a value shared by nations, identities of jobs as experts, forced to deal with things that have nothing to do with being knowing about what this country's studies this country studies this country, and they have nuclear weapons and all this. They have roles with our hospitals, with element. They have to watch each other because the elements associated with all the threats from a base originally and still built to keep that where everyone's self value is the worst because it's just more subtle. So it's using male predicate acts. It has roles with the shootings and stuff like that. Same it has roles with the child defenders. Same people that put them away, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with predicate acts with those people before they happen. Their roles with uses of all locations. All the courts and all the sciences in relationship to already bonded. The words of the identity the sciences share in relationship to our to to and as the obligations of the human soul, human fact keeping nature, not through a job, not through and with an identity of the ground, tactically denatured. This is engineered to cause negative value nature progressions, acts and natures that they could get everyone rightfully blaming people right but wrong, like the Native Americans blaming it. Oh, it's the white man, and then they defend that. Then everyone agrees to disagree. But science is parted from its process. The point is, what is inseparable is the fact that the Native American, not just Native American, the Native identity of value progression that humanity is. Actually, it's not supposed to be forced through a breaching employed, breaching fronts, organized, breaching method, roles, effectively vertically and horizontally maintained, juxtaposed to others. Now these are branches of government pretending they're legitimately undercover, having been and using those positions to pretend things that were recorded that never were, never are. They're attaching little kids to fake locations through time. They're maintaining the stewards of elderly homes in collusion with all kinds of organized crime, acts and methods recorded that, of course, they could have been prevented. Now, see, not only are the branches of government and the campuses and private database relationships and stewards involved with them with this, their own family members, because of victim predators. This is all used remotely by nations individually grouped and together. And before they did that, and while they were doing that, right there, that's they're using remotely that way too. Everyone was separated from the long words. Everyone was invested as victims forced to react as human fact shaping nature. And with time impositions and the sensibilities, no, using Jane Austen's phrase, using that phrase must have been used by people associated with with the litigation at the time and now. Recorded still using the same methods where if you try to tell truth in courts, the courts that are simultaneously pretending to be about truth, they're going to attach you to fake locations, fake words, fake sequence relationships. They're going to forge names and switch names. They're going to use that time to make overall allegations against you criminally while they've been painting lies into databases and self valuing that having been done with each age and nature of campuses. That's really what's tied to when they have exploited areas and different types of campuses and everyone trying to figure out how to get out. That's really what's behind it when they have identities of jobs with campuses, inclusion with the kids, inclusion against themselves. See, but now they can't follow mandated law because they've been faking things into the databases through time. Then they have World Trade Center attack rolls. Each year since New Britain, West Hartford, from Weathersfield Interbranch, the same ones associated with them. Intercities involved with human trafficking acts and roles that are bridged to the worst things. With Eric Mendez. I don't know his older brother's name. They forge and switch names and they use different spellings to pretend that's normal because there's also Officers McGee's. They use the name Officer McGee, but then they also say they confess to us also as a threat about how they you have more than three, at least three guys who use the name McGee who are not McGee. These are also one of them is involved with Rocky Hill High School, involved with interbranch family members, involved with them also lying about passions and emotions because I don't know them. These are people that are with WFSB, also with private lawyers, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also with CNN's sources and with Bravo sources and police forms involved with also with on off Fox Connecticut News, on off WFSB, with locations next to them, to the buildings next to them, involved with predicate acts with CIA and with FBI and with roles with Saudi families and their names forging and switching names. Like I don't know the name of the Saudi woman at Nordstrom's in West Farms Mall. I don't know the name of a leasing agent who I signed a thing on, and reportedly, like his recorded his family and houses next to them, which is right next to Central Connecticut State University, and on and off Paul Manafort Drive. They have predicate acts rolls leading up to and in the World Trade Center attack. Also, with the sense and sensibilities of CNN preventing mandated law with child offenders, because these are also medical. These are female judges and male judges and their family members, also on and off the state of Connecticut judicial branch offices, like with the Enzo Fienza and people with junkyards and tied to him with the Dillon family, foreign and domestic military, people with Normandy Heights and Rock and on the South Steen Highway. And there's a Phil Cololo further recorded, confessed, and demonstrated also involved with a Domain family and with Thaddeus Grabowski, who's one of the co-defendants of former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, with the two Mendez police and others like on and off Fox Connecticut News involved with predicate acts with them. Also, the private police of WFSB. Now they and on Fox Connecticut News. Now they have also military, foreign, and domestic involved through time with this. Now these are people that have been attaching me to fake locations, fake words, fake ties to other people since I was a kid, and they've been making people to fake sides of. They've been making problems and put fake sides of the disputes because they with the people involved with all exceptions and exception nature recorded. So we have Joshua Julian. I never had anything to do with him. I only know I remember his name so good because, but first of all, he's online. I'm involved with the Facebook page of New Britain Superior Court and of High Crest School's Facebook page stewards, involved with my town's police chief and with his daughter, and with his daughter's husband, and and his brothers and sister and family, foreign and domestic, involved intercities through time, with a whole bunch of people with prosecutors and judges involved with predicate acts with them together. The racketeering with worse than racketeering with databases, with all the things that they pretend to be about. They are the worst roles with them because they have uses of everyone blaming other things, others themselves for tactically breaching method employed, pseudo education of the locations, areas, and states of all modern nations. So on off the New Haven FBI are involved with also uses of AT&T, and by with a whole bunch of other nations use them remotely. When they have these value treatments about these trade agreements, they're leaving out originally and still how those trade agreements were employed. They can't afford correlation with sequence true. The order to the finite value, act inherently, actively, and progressively by people, understanding and evaluating how we and why we are, species, nature, or volume the way we are, a bonded identity of volume, individually grouped and together. It hasn't bonded to it. Value progression system that markets are tactical ulterior from to keep human fact sheet nature valued abridged, to keep the exceptions in exception nature valued by our courts, by our police forms, in collusion with that also private overt criminal enterprises that have nothing to do with themselves but this. Roles kept needed to hide the same sequence shifts, finite lies, active lies, progressive lies, identity thefts, frauds, and worse than racketeering lies against strangers, against anyone with the identity of logic, not criminally foreign influence. These are five bonded identities of sequence nature, simultaneously self generating. What is bonding them? So they are more than the value of a bond alone. Vaccines, come on, each nation. So Russia and America have recorded victim reactions, self-valued roles with the torture of and with the fact-cheating nature of slavery of our founding parents, which is evidenced by their relationships to the infrastructure forced since before cars, means to it, uses of opinion natures that through each field that are only capable of fathoming such value nature systems, such means to defend themselves, such definitions of success only capable of valuing contrast, and where that's not true, only capable of valuing roles with all the natures of organized crime acts and methods associated with all the spots where we need the human nature to do what it would naturally do, which is be organized ahead of time to be able to help people. Forsaken, like in California, real or made up. This is a pathology of infrastructure that is evidence to the fact cheating, nature, torture of, and slavery of our founding parents. It is relevant to recorded criminally foreign influenced acceptations of James Madison and of Marbury versus Madison, which is very simple. I was raised to understand Marbury versus Madison means, quote, real justice must satisfy real all appearances of real justice, unquote. See how people add things rather than what is only going to add itself, but as the value of that which will only stay positive onto itself. We could stay these systems that are temporary positive, and or even like progressions that way, with the value of the logic that justified what they built, like with housing projects, how they were built was all victim predator victim roles. So, the predator comes where they justify the fact treatment nature. So that and that's where we have identities of jobs in relationship to grouped problems that you can't deal if you can't deal with what's not grouped. And that's grouped. In other words, they agreed to be suits and ties. Value nature systems this way sick. Not by opinion nature. It's true. We have election spots, Weathersfield town offices. Before this semester started, I asked online because Weathersfield police people associated with them with untimely deaths on and off Trinity College, on and off a principal sex offenders campus, with foreign and domestic sensibilities in relationship to how they have programs like with DACA, with nurses, foreign and domestic. Now, say we have nurses, we have real health care, and then we have juxtaposed a whole bunch of foreign and domestic involved with organized crime, live progressions tied to that, with all kinds of opinion natures too. Too many jobs rely upon too much, physical delusions also with acceptations of psychologists. Now, see, this is where we have the courts that are involved with criminally foreign influence crime methods of pretending that people shouldn't make opinions about doctors so others won't feel bad about going to them. Like whatever, they make things up, and to get away with it, they're valuing what's in databases already faked by them. They've been forging names, switching names, kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite lies, active lies, progressive lies, identity thefts, frauds, and worse, identity, worse than crimes, lies, predicate acts roles with cases, with overt criminal enterprises, all with the same ones, all the time to the uses of the witness protection programs ties to my area, with also FBI and with their psychologists, also recorded involved, former director of the FBI, federal criminal code defendants of his, their family members, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved predicate acts with people on and off campuses with child sex offenders, through the leaderships of the kids. Now these are people tied to these are influences over Anderson Cooper and over the guy from Bravo with CNN. and with New Year's. Now these are for them being attached, everyone attached to fake words. Now these are people also involved with on off the Ninth Circuit right before the World Trade Center attack. Roles of people also on off Central Connecticut State University, on off East Hartford, involved with families like a DeMoro family, intercities through time, involved with people from Central Connecticut State University, through time, involved with child campuses criminally, and with a former Mayor Gold and other mayors. See, now they're using the sense and sensibilities of everyone speaking through other, while we have Weathersfield Police forging names and switching names with child sex offenders. They also have, because they have families interbranch associated with Rocky Hill High School and with Weathersfield schools and Hartford schools. That they also involved with predicate acts on and off Central Connecticut State University. Then they self-valued roles with that. When I on off campuses, when I was at a child school with this former Mayor Gold's family, with human trafficking, attaching me and other kids to fake words in grammar school, and then exploiting that which would they used. These are also people involved with Sandy Hook and Newtown and fire departments. Also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Those are campuses also, hospital campuses, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with this from off campuses in a way that is recorded, used effectively, keeping them on off campuses further motivated needs to hide life progressions with as roles with all locations, areas, and states against people. Their motivations are recorded, but to discern them, you have to follow mandated law, which is part of the organized crime methods that New Britain Superior Court and then Hartford courts and that people intercities involved with them were leading up to the World Trade Center attack, and each year since they've been stacking lies in databases. Their motivations to that is where and how nations like Russia and America torture each other. And then what that locks into place is means to keep remote the quality of fact cheating nature at World Trade Center attack. I'm world as well and at World Trade Center standing manifest value/value relationship to us, where we are nations together shared police. They're not supposed to talk about it. They have at the end of highways. See, they have to. We have to make peace, so they have to help get people into a value nature system, market positions, which can't help but be a value nature system. Market positions employed here and there, commonly, but everyone here and there blaming other things other than themselves for all that nature demonstrates. How commonly. See, but the words that demonstrate this sequence true. The evidence is these are courts lying about what is actually recorded online. Sequence lying about what is actually recorded through the mail, telling us to sue while they are simultaneously were and are knowingly having been forging names and switching names. The judicial branch distinctly and group with the executive branch police forms with my town's police chief, retired and standing detectives, FBI, former director of the FBI down. His federal criminal court defendants also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with these Mendez police brothers. Again, this is in Weathersfield interbranch involved with them, with predicate acts, and with on off Fox Connecticut News in Hartford, on off buildings next to them. People on he's also recorded, they're also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, involved with predicate acts with people on Two Rod Highway. I've never seen them on there. These are police that attach me and little kids and their family members to fake locations, fake words through time. They have WFSB and have Better Connecticut recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved also with charities. See, because these are people needed to pretend to be against positive misprision. And they have been using all identity of the ground locations criminally from their positions where it counts, where we are sequence nature, where we are identity nature, where this is increasing, where it counts. So all exceptions, exception nature and demonstrations. These are doctors like a Leahy family pretending conversations with me through time, pretending to be with prosecutors and their drug clicks, sexual circles. Rick Faglione said that there are a whole bunch of people involved with Judaism, and with prosecutors and judges involved on off Central Connecticut State University with him. And no, I never hung around with him in high school at all. After he graduated high school, he made this confessions to me, and he was also used to spread lies to girls in my grammar school to pretend he was in a class with me. I'm pretty sure about that one. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was never in a class with me. I never saw him in a class. And like one time and I forgot about it. Then like there was someone trying to make and keep fights between us, a fight between me and other people. Like this is also a Casper family and a former football coach. Now, see, these are people involved with agencies and foreign and domestic agreements with the human fact sheet with nature, how to handle positive, negative, how to handle identity of value. See, through criminal foreign influence, their delusions wrought also. And they have, so they're making it, that's why it's important to, also they have this crime method since I was a little kid with the same men and women that were kids now, also men and women further involved with it, attaching me and others constantly intercities connected to faked words, fake sequence of natures of relationships to other people, fake natures of relationships with other people, fake relationships that weren't at all, like this Joshua Julian. So he's recorded involved with interbranch families through time, also with private and with an O'Brien family and a whole bunch of people associated with Central Connecticut State University through time, with Trinity College through time, used by FBI and by CIA, used by military families and by shipping families, airport families, to hide their reactions as victims to what from off these campuses keeps on and off those reactions and uses them for the worst things. So to keep the elections criminally foreign influenced, use is by the only allowed capable of being criminally foreign influenced all locations, areas, states, stewards, each branch of government individually grouped in together, further and further from before that will keep them victim predators, each campus of each age and nature, simultaneously while each database relationship and all that in collusion with overt criminal enterprises what really furthers each of them. That's how could you know all this? Because because of the identity that is shared by the predicate act of the law and by the predicate of English. And it as an identity of volume that is only increasing as the complete identity and is the complete greater value of the identity of the increasingly of discerning the predicate acts, real causes, real what it's really tied to. Everything's tied to this one identity of value progression, this one identity of volume, with all other identities of volume in demonstration of its own. We're not supposed to agree about the name of it. And exceptions and exception nature are simultaneous, where we are supposed to agree, individually grouped and together, because this is a scientific variable, obligated by the longboards of our species to be used, dictated by it. So they need us to have debates about debatable, not just in self-defeating ways, but in ways that keep premises treatments, keep words slash values slash value progression like debate, criminally foreign influence, uses of its self value, only having been. Vaccines. So they make everyone speak about jobs and markets, but they left out all the extortion, which is unequally. Now, here's we learn here first. My theory, I didn't read this. There are proofs. The ancients would teach. The equality sign is the value of the letter Z as a smaller case. This is where we are, where a finite nature of volume, a semi-nature of volume, and we're a semi-nature has a complete semi and finite, distinct, non-distinct, and simultaneous relationship to itself as one identity of value progression. And English was revealed to teach this. So the lowercase z is inside the identity that has the uppercase z drawn to show what temporary positive that also temporary slash lasting positive onto it as its identity of value progression system, which from our perspective is inside it. Three bonded identities of sequence nature. But from inside it, it's and as it is as it is three bonded inside of five bonded from our perspective, but it is one identity, making more of my identities by the nature of bond. And the value of that between its inherent active and progressive natures of life. The seed forever flower. So thank you for coming out this evening. Everyone's still watching? I don't think so.